Hello and welcome back to my channel, guys. For this video I have 3 really cute farmhouse styled spring decor DIYs to share with you all. But before I get started, I do want to mention that this is a collab with Adrian from Full-Time DIY Mommy, and all her information is going to be linked down below in my description box, so make sure you go check out her channel, her video, and let her know that I sent you guys her way. Alright, let's jump right into it. For my first project, I'm going to be using 3 of these little signs or frames from Dollar Tree, and I just started by removing the backing of them. I put 2 aside and then I scraped the wording off of the third one, and the paper was already coming off, so I just decided to rip it off as much as I could. I'm going to be using the prettier side and not really that messy side, so it doesn't really matter too much. After that, I just started by removing the sawtooth hangers as well. We're not going to need those anymore. We are going to be turning these frames into like a cute little decorative basket, which I do want to mention that I got this idea from Crafting with Maria, and I will link her channel down below as well. So once I removed everything, I just took my white Waverly chalk paint and I gave each of those frames a pretty good coat of paint. I wasn't too precise. I did leave some of the like natural color coming through. It wasn't super detrimental that I covered every square inch. And I just did the first one on camera for you and then the other 2 off camera to save a little bit of time since it was so monotonous. I did the exact same thing to all 3 of them. This next step, I'm taking my brown Waverly antique wax and I'm using a small little chippy brush to kind of just distress the sides inwards. And also for this one, I'm going to be doing the top as well. This is going to be the top of the little basket that I'm making. So for the other 2 frames, I'm not going to worry about the tops of them. I'm only going to be distressing the sides because I'm going to be stacking each of these frames on top of one another. And like I said, the one I was working on first is going to be the top. So yes, I needed to do all sides of that frame. But these next 2, when I stack them on each other, you're not going to be able to see the top. So it's really not necessary. Once I was happy with the distress marks, I took out these raw beads, which I bought these from Michael's. I usually use my Amazon ones, but I still had these Michael ones on hand too. So I just started by picking out the size that I was kind of interested in. I didn't want them to be too big, but then not too small as well. So once I had the same size picked out, it was easier to go through and just start gluing them onto one of the frames. So this frame is going to be below the frame that's going to go on the top. I just kind of wanted to give this little basket like a different look, a little bit more character to it. I could have done the beads on each of the other 2 frames that are not going to be on the top, but I just decided to do it on one instead. So I just took my hot glue gun and I just started lining the outer edge on top of that frame all the way around until it was completely covered with all of those beads. And as I was gluing them, I tried to make sure that they were flush against the side. I didn't want them to be sticking out too much, just to make everything nice and flat around the edges. So once I had all the beads glued into place, I just took my E6000 and then hot glue, just mixed those together. Just it's like, you know, the hot glue is a quick adhere and then the E6000 is just a stronger bond. So I glued the beaded frame into the middle and then the other frame that I distressed on the top onto the top of that beaded frame. And after that, I just put the original backing in with the pretty side up. So when you look into the basket, that's the side you see rather than the one that has the paper all over it. After that, I decided I wanted to elevate the box a little bit, so I took 4 of these larger raw wooden beads and just glued 1 on each of the corners. Then I decided that I wanted to add a couple of straps to this little box, so I took this faux leather ribbon from Dollar Tree. It's kind of like a brown cognac color. I eyeballed it, you know, up to the box before I cut it. Once I had like a good length measurement, I just cut 4 of those the same length, and then I glued 2 of them together back to back so that way the faux leather was on each of the sides. After that, I just glued it where I liked the length of the handles. I glued both of them on each side, and then I took some of these gold little thumbtacks and put 2 on well, total of 4, but 2 on each side, you know, right where I glued the handle to the little box. So the thumbtacks go in, you know, fairly easy, but I just used a little hammer to help kind of push them in the rest of the way just to make sure that everything was nice and secure. And here's how the little handles turned out. I think they're so cute. My last step for this little box was to cover up the color of the raw wooden beads. I just didn't really care for it. And I knew I wanted them to be white, but it was a lot easier to paint them once they were glued to the box rather than having to do them individually. So I just did the same thing to the beads that I did to the frames. So I painted them with that white Waverly chalk paint, and then I took that brown antique wax and just, you know, dry brushed over them. I distressed until I was happy with the look and I thought everything was, you know, pretty cohesive and whatnot. And this is how that little box turned out, you guys. I am obsessed. I love it. I think it has, you know, a really fun farmhouse look to it with those brown handles. They just really kind of bring it to the next level and really give it that character that it needed. And also, I do want to mention that I did go back later on and painted the inside of the box a little bit more. I didn't really think of it when I was doing it, but once I had put everything together, I was like, oh, I could probably paint the inside and then also take off the prongs that were holding the backing into place. Here you can see that I kind of just filled it with flowers just to give you an idea of what you could put in there. Also, once this project is done, I will show you how they look inside of the basket, or the little box as well. Sorry, I keep calling it a basket. The box. Anyways, so for my next project, I took 3 of these vases that are from Dollar Tree. I unfortunately only had 2 clear ones and 1 red one, so I just kind of made do with what I had at the time. But I took that white Waverly chalk paint and I just gave each of them 2 solid coats of paint all over. I did want to distress them with sandpaper, but because one of the vases was red, I did not really want to do that. You know, the white ones would have looked okay, or I mean the clear ones, sorry, would have looked fine, but I just didn't want that red showing through. So I just decided to, you know, cover them completely with the white Waverly chalk paint, and then I used that antique brown wax again and just distress them here and there. Very minimal distressing. I didn't want it to be too heavy, but I just wanted it to be just enough to kind of age it and then really give it that, you know, farmhouse type of feel that I was going for. So my next step was to take these little chalkboard tags that are from Dollar Tree as well, and I decided to trim them up because they were way too large compared to the size of the vase. So I just trimmed them down just to make them a little bit smaller, more like aesthetically pleasing once I had tied them onto the vase. And I still do end up trimming them here in the end too, because they were just a little bit too big, a little bit too long. But once I had all 3 of them cut this first time, you know, I was kind of, you know, happy with it at the time. I just used the original string that the tags came with, and I untied the little knot at the top, and then I just tied each of these tags around the neck of each of those vases. And here is how they look so far, and you can see that the tags are still just a little bit too big, so that's why I do trim them in the end. But for this next step, I did it off camera for you guys. I just used my Cricut and I printed out some fun spring words in a really cute font that I liked, and I just added those to the tag. I chose grow, bloom, and spring. You guys can choose whatever words that, you know, work for you and words that you like. Maybe sunshine or blossom would be really cute as well. Anyways, here's how the vases turned out after I put the little words on each of the tags. For my last step, I just wanted to, you know, really spice them up with these cute little flower picks, I guess greenery picks that I got from Dollar General. I found these cute little like olive branches. I thought they were super, super cute, super adorable, and they really just add, you know, that farmhouse type of feel to it. I used some baby's breath and I think it's celosia, I'm not sure. A couple of little pieces of this lamb's ear that I had, and here you go guys, here is how they turned out. I am in love. I love these so much. They're so cute. And seriously, they're just so easy to do, quick and simple, but they just have a really pretty and elegant look to them. Also, like I mentioned before, here is how they look in that little box that I made. Oh my goodness, can't even handle it. It's so adorable. Alright guys, on to my third and final project for this video. I'm going to be using this hula hoop, or aka fun hoop, from Dollar Tree, and I'm pretty sure I got the smallest size that Dollar Tree has. Maybe I got the size up, but I was really going for the smallest hula hoop that they had. So my first step was to paint it with that white Waverly chalk paint. In the beginning I thought, you know, since I'm going to wrap it with some decorative nautical rope, that I didn't want any of that blue color popping through if there was any gaps or anything like that. So I did decide it, I did decide to paint it white first, but it really wasn't necessary at the end. There was nothing showing through, so you guys can totally skip that step if you do decide to make this little rope wreath. So yeah, I took that nautical rope from Dollar Tree, and overall I used 3.5 packages of this rope. I just picked a spot and started by gluing it on there, let the glue cool down, and just started wrapping that rope as tight as I possibly could around the entire, radius of the hula hoop until it was completely covered. Once I needed to add more rope, I just glued it where the last rope ended and just started right back going in the same direction. So once the hula hoop was completely covered with that rope, I just took this welcome spring sign that's from Dollar Tree as well. I took off the original little jute twine hanger from it, and I cut 2 separate pieces of jute. That way, once I hung it onto the hula hoop, it had 2 hanging points rather than 1, just to make everything a little bit more symmetrical and make sure that the sign was going to hang evenly, across the wreath. So once I had those kind of just eyeballed where, I thought it was going to hang nicely, I just tied a little knot right there at the top of each of those 2 separate jute twine pieces. And then I moved on to making a really cute bow to add to the wreath. I just took some ribbon that I had on hand from Walmart. I found this on clearance, it was a really good deal, and I really liked the look of this ribbon. It's like really farmhousey and cute. I've used it before in a couple of previous videos that I have. So I just did 3 loops at the top and then 2 little tails. Don't ask me why I did this way. I'm not really sure. I just really liked, I don't know, I just was going with the flow, I guess, but I think it turns out really, really cute still. So I just matched up the tails and cut them, evenly, and then I dovetailed the bottoms. I just really liked that added characteristic to them. Also thought I was recording and I wasn't, so I just started by gluing that bow onto a part of the wreath, kind of like catty corner from the sign. That way I could start, adding these floral pieces to come down around the wreath and kind of just be on the side of that sign. And honestly, this was just personal preference. I could have done the flowers at the bottom or directly above the sign. I just chose it to be a little bit, towards the side. And here is how that one turned out, you guys. So cute. I love it. I really love the size of this. This is going to go on my front door, so it's really eye-catching when you walk up, or even if you're driving by in the street and you just happen to look over at somebody's front door and you're like, oh, like it's able to see it from the road, which I really, really like. So, and I definitely could have picked a different sign to go in the middle. I could even change things out to go in the middle. So I really love this one. You guys will have to let me know what you think. All right, well, it is a walkthrough time. Just another little once over of the projects that I made in this video, just in some better lighting, just to give you another look at how they turned out. Again, this wreath is super, super cute. You could even do like the rustic nautical rope would be really pretty. You can make the flowers more colorful. I just kept things more on like a neutral type of color scheme just to go with that like farmhouse type of feel. Also, these vases are so stunning. I love them. They can be together, they can be separate. You can put them in that little box that I made, you can change out the flowers, you can change out the tags to say different words. There's, a lot of ideas there. And this little box, you guys, so cute. Also, like I mentioned before, this was inspired from a little craft that Crafting with Maria did, so I will put her information down below. You can see the one that she made as well. Alright guys, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and you'll have to let me know down below which one of these is your favorite. Also, don't forget, this is a collab with Adrian from Full Time DIY Mommy, so definitely go check her video out. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.